Hello, welcome to English Language Basics, the tools you need. My name is Mark Holloway and I work for the Centre for Academic English here at the University of Hertfordshire. And the purpose of this video is to talk about some really basic tools we need when learning English, or at least improving our English and improving our communication skills. When we talk about academic writing and other forms of communication in the Centre for Academic English, we sometimes have to talk about aspects of the English language which you might not be familiar with. Even if English is your first language, you might have a good feel for the issues I talk about here, but you might not know some of the labels I use. And if English is not your first language, you probably have a better chance of knowing what the labels are, but you might need some further explanation. So that's why I'm making this video. In the video, I'm going to talk about 4 aspects of English language: verb phrases, noun phrases, patterns, and sentence structure. And to try to make this interesting and hopefully not too complicated, I will refer mainly to 2 sentences from novels written in English for the examples that I use. The first sentence is the opening line from George Orwell's 1984. It was a bright day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. That probably looks like a very ordinary sentence until the final word. When you see or hear the word 13, I expect you to find that a little strange, and we'll see why shortly. The second sentence might look very strange indeed, even though it's short and only uses 2 words. This is a sentence taken from Ulysses by James Joyce. Love loves to love love. If that doesn't make any sense yet, hopefully I can explain it shortly. But let's go back to Orwell to look at our first language issue, verb phrases. There are 2 verb phrases here in the sentence. It was a bright day in April and the clocks were striking 13. The 2 verb phrases are was and were striking. You'll see that one of our verb phrases is nice and simple, consisting of just one word, was, which is one of the past forms of the verb be. Were striking, however, has 2 words, what we call an auxiliary verb, here that's be, and a main verb, strike. Now, for now, that's all we're going to do with verb phrases. They can be single words or multiple words, and for now, that's all you need to know. Now, in another video, I will talk in more detail about how important noun phrases are in academic writing. But for now, I'd just like to explain that there are 3 noun phrases in our sentence from Orwell. Note, however, that noun phrases tend to have much more varied lengths than verb phrases. So here we have a bright day in April, the clocks, and 13. Every noun phrase has a head noun. You can think of the head noun as the most important word in a noun phrase, as it's basically what the phrase relates to. If there's a noun phrase at the start of a sentence, the head noun is pretty much what the sentence is about. Here we have a bright day in April from it was a bright day in April. The head noun is day. It was a day. The other words describe what kind of day it was. A more simple example is the clocks, where the head noun is clocks and the word the specifies which clocks we're talking about. And that's all we need from noun phrases at the moment. Just you need to know that there are phrases in which one word will be more important than the others, and that's the head noun. So that was a simple introduction to verb phrases and noun phrases. Now let's talk about patterns. We can think of an expression like a clock strikes as a pattern. A familiar pattern if you have a good understanding of English. If you have a good understanding of English, or you've been speaking English or learning English for a while, it's not strange or surprising to see the words clock and strike together. In fact, one of the first poems my daughter learned as a very small child included the expression, the clock struck 1. Striking is what clocks do. This pattern is an example of collocation, words that typically appear together, or at least near to one another. And a word that often follows clock is strike, followed by an hour, 1, 2, 3, and so on, up until 12. So the clock strikes 12. So that sentence from 1984 seems very normal because of the clocks were striking. But then it suddenly becomes unusual because of that number 13. We don't usually say the clock struck 13. The collocation is a key to communicating effectively in English. We just need to pay attention to choosing the right words to go together, and we'll explore that in more detail in the future. Now, if collocation refers to patterns of meaningful words occurring together, colligation refers to grammatical patterns. When we want to link the words day and April, for example, we use in April, not on April or at April. In April is a grammatical pattern we need to learn in order to use the word April correctly. And this kind of grammatical pattern is called colligation. If you speak to me about your writing at any point, you might hear me use an expression like pattern grammar, which is what I'm talking about here. And here I can bring in the sentence from Ulysses by James Joyce. Love loves to love love is, of course, unusual because it's a sentence consisting of 5 words and 4 of them are love. But it's also quite normal, and it follows an expected pattern in that expression loves to love. Consider these 3 loves. They follow the very familiar pattern of love followed by to and then followed by a verb. So I love to cook. I love to spend time with my family. You love to see it. So the final focus for this video is sentence structure. Here I'd just like to highlight 3 final labels that are useful for us when talking about your writing: subject, verb, and object. We've already seen verbs in the verb phrase section. The verb phrase here is loves to love. The subject, that's the person or thing that comes before the verb phrase, is love. And the object, coming after the verb phrase, is also love. Love the subject, loves to love, love the object. And to return to George Orwell, the clocks are the subject, were striking is the verb phrase, and 13 is the object. And that's all. That was a very quick introduction to verb phrases, noun phrases, patterns and sentence structures, all of which will be explored in more detail and in other contexts as we continue together. And hopefully if we use these terms in discussing your writing in the future, you'll know what they mean. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. If you'd like to get in touch with any feedback or questions, you can email us on cae@hearts.ac.uk, on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is @heartscae, or you can go to our website go.hearts.ac.uk/academic-English. Thank you.